Hello, this is Ms. Pat from San Luis Public Library. This week in Science Scouts, we're going to learn about what melts ice and how to melt ice. Our story this week is called Whale is Stuck by Karen Hayles and Charles Fuge. It was midsummer in the Arctic, and the sun shone all day and all night. The sheet of ice that had covered the sea during the winter was finally beginning to melt and break into small islands. Whale loved the open sea. He swam down into the deep, dark blue water, where he turned and, thrusting his tail as hard as he could, aimed for the bright surface above. Fish watched Whale splash in and out of the water. "Look at me," Whale cried as he gave a huge leap. Okay, and there's his fish friend underneath. Fish quickly swam aside in case Whale landed on top of him. But this time, there was no splash. Whale had landed right in the middle of an ice floe. Poor Whale was stuck fast on the ice. "What am I going to do now?" he spluttered. Just then, Walrus heaved himself onto the floe. He'd been digging for clams on the seabed when he saw Whale's enormous shadow appear above him. Before Walrus had a chance to ask Whale what he was doing there, the dolphins and the porpoises had swam along to see what was happening. The dolphins were chattering so loudly that a flock of nosy seabirds swooped in as well. He's stuck. But down below the ice floe, Fish was becoming very curious. He could only see dim shapes through the thick ice. Why hadn't Whale come back down to see him? Up above, Walrus had taken charge. "Dolphins," he bellowed, "try and tip the floe from underneath, and I will lever Whale off the ice with my magnificent tusks." See how well that works. On the count of 3, the dolphins tipped up the ice floe, and Walrus strained as hard as he could. But Whale was so heavy, he didn't move an inch. "We could try to lift you off," squawked Puffin hopefully. And all at once, the birds flew up and perched on top of Whale. "Ouch! Stop!" shrieked Whale as the birds tried to grip his slippery skin with their sharp claws. "It looks as if I will be stuck forever," sighed Whale. By now, the crowd had grown even larger. Some seals had arrived and some inquisitive polar bears. Walrus puffed himself up to make another announcement. "You seals, come and help push, while I lever Whale with my magnificent tusks, and the dolphins tip the ice floe. We'll soon have Whale back in the water." So the seals pushed, Walrus strained, and the dolphins tipped. But still, Whale remained stuck in the middle of the ice floe. Oh dear, Walrus muttered into his large bristling mustache. Poor Whale began to sob quietly to himself. Suddenly, a long spiral spike appeared out of the sea. It was followed by the cheerful face of Narwhale. "If Whale jumped onto the ice floe," he said, "then he should be able to jump off again." "I think he just needs a little jab from underneath," Narwhale said thoughtfully. Before Whale could protest, Narwhal had disappeared underwater and was heading for the dark shadow above. His pointed tusk slid easily into the ice until thump. It wasn't quite long enough to go right through. Narwhal got a nasty bump on the nose. Deep below the surface, Fish peered upward and noticed that now the shadows were becoming clearer. Meanwhile, Walrus had another plan. If the polar bears leap onto the edge of the ice floe and the dolphins tip the other side, I will level Whale with my magnificent tusks while the seals push. So the polar bears leapt, the dolphins tipped, Walrus strained, and the seals pushed. The ice floe reached an alarming angle and then fell back with a mighty splash. A huge wave came over them and everyone was swept clean off the ice, except Whale. As the day went on, the sun got hotter and brighter. The animals continued to push and shove poor Whale until finally they gave up and lay hot and panting in the heat on the cool ice. Beneath him, deep in the water, Fish peered upward. At last, he could see everything clearly as the heat of the sun began to melt the ice floe. Fish knew that the ice must be very thin. Above the surface, everyone was too tired to notice the tiny cracks that were appearing all around them. They were so tired that they didn't even notice the creaking noises the ice floe was making, or the snapping noises as the tiny cracks got bigger. Suddenly, there was a terrific crunch. All the animals were plunged into the sea, including Whale. When they all reached the surface again, they realized what had happened. Whale was so pleased that he almost leapt out of the water, but then he remembered what had happened earlier that morning. Whale also remembered that Fish was still waiting for him deep below, and with a slap of his tail, he went to join him. Okay, so the ice melted, and we're going to find out why. Okay, so we are going to find out how ice melts. We know that it melts from the sun. Okay, but sometimes in the wintertime, we don't have the sun all the time to melt our ice, right? So we will put down salt. You see the salt trucks come through. The big salt trucks will come through before it snows, and they put ice on the salt on the road, and that's to keep it from freezing. Right? So we know that ice is a solid form of water. I don't know if all of you guys know, it has to be 32 degrees or colder, which means lower, before the water will freeze. So if it's 36 degrees outside, it's not going to have ice or snow. It has to be below 32. But the salt makes it hard for the water to freeze at that temperature. It needs to be colder for the water to melt. Okay. So what does water molecules look like? Ice without salt is going to look like this little pattern here, this little lattice. And the ice with salt, the salt is going to be that red dot. Okay. Water molecules are in a rigid pattern. Rigid means it's in a really straight pattern. It kind of looks like a net. Right? So when they're frozen, this is what it looks like. But with the ice and the salt, it doesn't look like that, right? It looks like you can kind of slip right through. So the bonds are broken. It's a little bit more fluid, meaning it's going to melt a little bit. All right, so when we put food coloring with our salt, okay, food coloring is going to make it a little bit more visible, but you can see it without the colors too. Okay, look for the ridges and peaks when we do this. And I'll tell you how we're going to do this in a moment. Okay, but you can see this one. All right, you can see these nice little patterns here. They had a nice little ball of ice, round ball. Right, you can even see this one. It almost looks like lots of snow. And that's just because they put salt on it and it just kind of, and it has nice little rivers going down the sides of it. Okay. They put a flashlight behind it and you can kind of see where the light is shining through, where it broke through. Okay, here they put all the salt up at the top so it's nice and solid on the sides. You can kind of see that's almost running down like a river. That's what the salt is doing. Okay, so it's melting it because it was 32 degrees when the water turned into ice, but the salt is making it a little bit warmer. Therefore, it's not going to stay. Okay. So what you guys are going to get is 3 cups. You're going to get 3 cups. 2 cups you need to fill with water. Halfway, put them in the freezer, let them freeze. The 3rd cup is going to be for you guys to pour your salt out of. Okay, and we're going to give you a little bit of pink salt, which is the salt we used to make ice cream back last summertime. Or you guys can use regular table salt, just little salt shakers, either one. Okay, and you're going to put that over it. Now the directions are going to be with you, and I'm going to show you what ours looks like. You are going to take the ice out of the cup. Okay. Okay, so we have this thing set up. Kind of had a little mishap, so hopefully you guys don't. I have with me today my grandchildren. We have Anakin and Aurora. Anakin has been told not to keep making faces at the thing. I have a tray. You're going to want something to put your ices in. Now, your 2 cups of ices are not going to come out very easily. Okay, and it kind of rocks on the bottom here. All right. You might have to warm them up. Be very careful, because what I did was I warmed it up like I did in the whale story, and my ice popped out. So now I kind of have pieces of ice instead of 1 cup. So let's see if Aurora gets that one out a little bit better. Careful. Okay. We're going to turn it upside down though, so it'll stay flat. So you're going to see that one's already bigger. The other one broke into a lot of pieces because it jumped out and it hit the floor. This piece is already broken off, and obviously you can't put it back together. But we are going to be able to see some of it is definitely a little bit. I'm going to bring this a little bit closer. All right, so you can kind of see that there is some solid white chunks in there. That's where it's really, really solid. Remember those nets? The bottom is really solid there. And then some of it is kind of clear. Okay. And we're going to find out what happens with ice when you put salt on it. Now, you're going to get some of the pink salt. So sprinkle that on. Sprinkle that on top. You're going to put that one on. We're going to take big piece. Yeah, you don't want to pile it up on top, okay? You just want to kind of spread it out.
Oh, it's like stinking in.
All right, and then what you're going to do, remember the 3rd cup of thing? You're going to fill it up with water. And if you put water on top of it to make the salt kind of melt, you're going to put it on your little one. Keep putting it there. All right, and it's kind of stuck now. So we wanted to do that. We want it to stick.
Yeah, this is exciting.
All right, and you can wait a little bit for that. It tells you can wait like 5 minutes and see if you have little holes in it, little craters, almost like little caves in it.
I'm trying to put one around the side of this.
Yeah, you can put it back in the bag if you don't use it all. Now, we're going to give you pink salt, but if you have regular table salt, you can use that too. Okay? So you can put that on the top.
My dad uses a lot of salt on the stairs when
Right. But you don't really use table salt when you're shoveling outside on the stairs.
This is so cool because my thing.
Now it's going to be a little bit hard to see in the video, but you guys will be able to see up close that it's kind of not smooth anymore on the top.
Not so smooth at all. But mine wasn't smooth at all.
Yeah, because I dropped yours on the floor. I'm
My
sorry.
sides aren't smooth anymore either because the water droplet kind of froze through the ice and now it has
And-
that texture.
Right, and if you kind of take your fingernails around the sides, go like this. Now they were smooth around the edges. Okay, because it was smooth around here, obviously not here, But around here, it was smooth. Now, if you take your finger around that part,
Now it's like this part.
now it's going, yeah, but it's going up and down. Because we went upside down, and now it's going this way. And that's because the water is melting.
But it's
The salt is melting it, and it's going down.
and kind of freezing.
So we're going to get some, and the reason we have it on this is so that it's not all over the table.
Which is kind
We're
of
going to get
happening.
some food coloring,
Ooh.
if you have any at home.
I'm gonna try to test this out and pick it up. Oh, it's kind of clearing.
All right, so I'm going to put some food coloring on top. I'm only putting one drop.
Oh my
Yours,
god.
I'm going to put one on the other side. Okay,
You should
and we're going to pick this up and go a little closer. Okay,
come.
and you can kind of see it's followed the cracks all the way down. And I don't think you're going to be able to see. All right, but you can kind of see where the cracks were here. And it's no longer smooth up at the top. Now,
Look right here. In mine, there was like a crack that went in. Now it's going in the ice. Look.
right? And it's really cool when you add the different colors to see them go down the sides.
If you want to see, look at mine, you can kind of see.
It is
that
going
it's
into the ice.
Into the ice. And it's going down to the middle.
Like I said, when you're seeing it up close, it's kind of very hard to see on the video. But now yours is also going into the ice because it's no longer clear all the way through. Okay, so you guys get to play with these, and we're going to do something with ice again in a couple of weeks. All right, so I hope you have fun with this. Have fun looking at it. Next time mom or dad puts salt outside on the ice and the snow, you guys can kind of look at it there and enjoy. See you guys next week. Bye.